Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, coming at you with more old world goodness. As you guys know, I am just absolutely obsessed with the old world currently. I love it to bits so much. Played a bunch of games with it already. I've been painting up models left, right and centre from my old collection, my old backlog from all the different armies that I collected back in the day, and it has been an absolute treat and a joy to be tackling some of these projects. A lot of you guys have been enjoying these videos. They've been getting a lot more views than other stuff, so I'm very grateful that you guys are also enjoying these videos and you want to come along for the journey. So today I want to start the first of a little kind of 3-part video series. I've been wanting to do, kind of like 3-part video series for a while now. I've managed to get my hands on a Knight Porphyrion for 40k, and I want to do a 3-day video series on that. And just because I can't get it done in a single day, a single video, and I want to stretch it out, make sure you guys get to see all the content involved in it, I thought I would start off that series today by doing a piece that I've had for a number of years that, to me, it is the kind of pride of my collection. It really is. If my whole studio went on fire right now and I could only grab one piece to save, it would honestly probably be this. Which is of course my Marienburg land ship, a beautiful piece of Forge World resin that got released for the old world many years ago. I in fact did not manage to get my growing mitts on it when it first came out. It in fact went out of stock, out of date. The rumor is that they dropped the mold and it got cracked and damaged over in Warhammer World, so they had to stop producing it and they've never repaired it. So I don't expect this thing to ever come back onto sale. Whether that's an old urban legend or whether it's true, I don't know. But considering that is one of those pieces that I love so much, it has sat 10% painted for years now. All the other bits are in this little tub here, you know, the mast, the wheel, the cannon, the crew, and I think it's about time I give this miniature the love and attention it deserves and put it pride of place in my Empire army to play in games of the old world. So that's what I'm going to do here in today's video. I'm going to start off the process. I reckon it will take 3 days, so there'll be a 3-part video series. There'll be one day after dinner, so I have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for the next part. It will literally be today, tomorrow, and the next day, all done, and hopefully I will have this glorious piece ready for you guys by then. So I hope you guys are excited to come along this journey with me and see what exactly makes up a Marienburg land ship. Before I get into the video, huge thank you to all of my active patrons. You guys are amazing. Without you guys, I've never been able to get the lights on and the cameras rolling, so the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And I'm just going to tell you once again about the awesome event that we have running here on the channel, and that is I want to give away a Titan at the end of this year. My plan is one of my subscribers is going to get given a Titan at the end of this year, depending on how many subscribers I have. So if it's 65,000 subscribers or more, I will give away a Warhound. If it's 85,000 subscribers or more, I will give away a Reaver. And if we manage to hit the magic number, which is 100,000 subscribers, which is my goal this year, then I will give away a Warlord. So if that's something that interests you, hit that subscribe button. Okay, without further ado, enough waffling, let's get working on this beast. Okay guys, and this is my Marienburg land ship. Obviously in a previous attempt at getting it done, I had mounted it to a large oval base, intending to use it in some way, shape or form for Age of Sigmar. As we had no sign of the old world returning, I threw some brown paint on it, and that's about as far as I ever got. It got me a little bit frustrated. And I just, it just fell by the wayside. A little information on the Marienburg land ship. It was brought out many years ago as part of a Forge World release of fantasy miniatures. There's a whole host of bits and pieces that go alongside it. There is the Marienburg land ship itself, of course. There is a unit of special handgunners called the Long Rifles, the Ironsides, which are basically plate armor wearing handgunners. They are awesome. I have 20 of them fully painted for my army already. There's a unit called the Manan's Blades, which were another unit of Empire infantry. Fortunately, I only have the command group for them, which is very sad. I wish I had taken time and gotten a squad of 20 or 30 of the infantry as well, but live and learn with your silly mistakes. Alongside that, they had a guy called Theodore Bruckner, who was a huge, big demigryph riding monster of a man. I believe he was the first ever demigryph, to be honest with you. I do indeed have that miniature, and he requires paint and love, just like this land ship does. And obviously they had faced off against stuff like the Termacan, which was the giant Nurgle-toed dragon. I do indeed actually have that piece as well. And then of course there was High Wizard of the Death Order, I can't remember her name. There's a beautiful female sorceress mounted on an Carmine dragon. Another beautiful piece that I unfortunately do not have, which I'm kicking myself over. So I do have quite a lot of that series of miniatures, but not all of it. Maybe someday I'll be able to patch those holes in my collection. Maybe Games Workshop will do some Forge World made to orders and give me the opportunity to buy them. I would very much like it. But as you can see, I got the model built itself. and I started on the hull, but I left all the other component parts left as just grey resin. Clean them up a little bit, or clean them up poorly, so I think it was time for me to go back in and do a slightly better job at getting these miniatures ready for paint. So first thing I did is went in with my resin brush. This is actually a Citadel resin brush they brought in when Finecast came out to clean off stuff. I still have it and use it to this day just to clean up resin pieces. It's nice to just give it a little scrub down, leave any flecks or any bits of material left behind get scrubbed off. It's really actually quite good. And then I went in with a sharp scalpel and removed any and all mold lines or bits of flash or bits of infill or anything like that that didn't need to be present on the miniatures. And obviously this machine has 6 crew. 6 crew in and of itself should take a couple days to paint, especially ones as detailed as this. So obviously putting that, like I could paint the entire landship in 3 days, that's no problem. But then you add 6, like basically another squad of infantry on top of it as well. It's going to eat away the time. So I've got a little bit of a sneaky plan to help me get through the infantry a little bit easier. But this is my plan, because these models are going to get glued directly onto the machine. I'm not going to glue them onto bases or anything. So I'm just going to super glue them directly onto my painting stands. And then I'm going to go through the motions and the process with the rest of these miniatures, scrubbing them all off, scraping off any mold lines and getting them all glued. At some previous stage, I thought it was a genius idea to, of course, take the helmsman and glue the wheel onto his hands, because hands are actually built onto the wheel. So I glued that piece together. So painting that miniature, getting past the wheel to paint his chest and stuff like that is going to be an absolute nightmare, but I'm kind of relishing the opportunity to get this whole piece done. The captain itself was one of the main reasons I wanted this miniature. I would love him as just an Empire general by himself. I'm tempted to try and like magnetize him and have him stick on the Marienburg ship and then also be removable and put on a base to play in games. But we'll see how that progresses. I did the same thing with all the other parts, like the cannon itself, which protrudes through the front. I had a touch of super glue to an underneath part of it, and I attached them to handles. There's a bunch of other parts on this thing, and I just wanted to make it as easy as possible for me to hold them whilst I constructed them. So obviously the mast was another one where I didn't do a particularly good job of getting it ready. So like I said, I went back in with that sharp scalpel, tried to straighten up as much of the lines as possible. I did actually go in there with a soft file in between all of those kind of rungs and file them all down again, try and make them as neat and as clean as possible. The floor of my crow's nest was also fairly poorly cast, and you can basically see straight through it in some parts, which was a disaster. Now back before, I didn't have any way of fixing this properly, but nowadays I have a bunch of other kind of tips and tricks up my sleeve, and I'm going to use one of them in today's video. So what I like to do is I like to take the Green Stuff World UV torch and just any old 3D resin that I have, UV curing resin I have left over from printers and stuff like that, and I just use a small amount of it to fill in the gaps and then cure with the UV torch. It hardens in like 1 second and fills in the gaps really well. Now a note, this is very toxic stuff. I probably should have been wearing gloves for this. I am very careful with it not to get any of it on my hands, and I obviously used it to fill in all those gaps and give me a nice smooth result and strengthen up those floorboards. It's only something I have to do once or twice, but it's also something I'm looking into for filling in gaps or cracks in miniatures, and it seems to be working out rather well. So just be aware, the resin stuff is not great. Do not breathe it in. Wear a mask, wear gloves, be smarter than I was before you do it. Now the mast was obviously very warped and very bent, as is known for Forge World, but I just got a cup of boiling water, soaked it in it for a couple of seconds, and then straightened up the mast into the position that I wanted it in and held it in that position for a couple of seconds. And once the hot water cools down, the piece hardens rock solid again, and you get this beautifully straight mast. Hopefully it stays that way. Sometimes it does have a tendency to bend itself back into the position. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, as obviously once this thing is built and painted and attached to the larger ship, it'll be much more difficult to get it re-straightened. So I started to go through the process of gluing all the other parts to their stands, whether it be the little ladder or some telescopes or anything like that. Now the painstaking procedure of removing the oval base from this miniature and returning this model to its former glory and putting it on its rightful shaped base, which is of course a giant rectangle. The base that I decided to go for, I can't 100% remember the dimensions, but what I did was I took the exact dimensions from the new Tomb King's Bone Dragon and I laser cut out a base for that. It fits on it beautifully, and it is an official base size. Like I said, it's the one that the Tomb King's Bone Dragon goes onto, so it is a real base size, and I think it works perfectly for the Empire landship. And if they ever do, for any reason, bring this thing back out, I presume this will be the base size that it'll be on. Now, well, I've talked a little bit about it, but yeah, the urban myth or legend surrounding this piece is that the Forge World mold for this thing was unfortunately dropped and cracked rather badly. And the story goes that the person that created the land ship no longer worked for Games Workshop as the time of the cracking, and no one has bothered to go in and attempt to repair or fix the mold to recast it. Honestly, I doubt they ever will. And as far as I'm aware, it cracked and broke very early into its development. So I honestly doubt there's more than 100 of these pieces in the entire world, which means it is a very rare, a very kind of sought after piece. It goes for about €1,000 on eBay, and not just listed as €1,000, sold for €1,000 on eBay. So I feel quite privileged, quite glad that I do have this piece in my collection. And pieces like that where I know somebody else would put their heart and soul into and would cherish as much as I would, I feel kind of bad leaving it in a pile or left on a shelf gathering dust, not finished. I mean, that just sits with me wrong. So it is a really nice thing to finally be able to get this thing done and painted up. So for this, I just grabbed some Agaros Dunes and I started to hit some of the other details. I couldn't remember what the hull color I used was. I thought it was a bit of Gorgrunt fur. It wasn't that. I tried another color, didn't match up at all. So I found Agaros Dunes was close enough, if not exactly perfect, and I just slapped it across all the wheels and some of the other bits and pieces and details on this piece. The mast and stuff. So it was like some of the wooden parts are going to be one color, some of the wooden parts are going to be a slightly different color. But as I go through the process of dry brushing those up tomorrow, I think it will make a huge difference. It'll help pull all those colors together and tie them in. And that's my plan. I want to dry brush up and get all of the wood and stuff to the right color before I then go in and start shading and layering all of the metallics and stuff like that. So there's a whole process I think in my head that will work. Obviously back in the day when I started this originally, I put this big thick silver coat of paint across all the back engine parts and stuff like that. And it looks absolutely dreadful right now, and I'm hoping that I can fix those up. Obviously knock it all down with some washes, some weathering powders maybe, add a bit of rust and weathering. Obviously this is a Stirland landship now, and Stirland are the poorest province in the empire. So maybe their upkeep on this behemoth isn't as good or as well as, say, Marienburg, for instance, would have kept it pristine and polished. But I just went through the same process like Agaros Dunes and hit all of the wooden parts that I need to do, whether it be the block for the cannon or the mast, the rest of the wheels, around near the details that jumped out on me. Now, if you're wondering where I got the time to get these 3 crew members base coated and washed, because I didn't really have time during the working day yesterday, I managed to find a little bit of time on my Twitch stream. So I decided to dedicate my Tuesday Twitch stream to helping me with this particular project. I picked the 3 most complicated crew miniatures that they have. So obviously the captain, the helmsman, and the crow's nest dude, the looker man. I don't know what he's called. He might have an official name, but the spotter, I don't know. If you guys know what the hell you call a guy who sits up in a crow's nest and looks out for ships, I'd really appreciate that. But like I said, I did do it on my Twitch stream. I do Twitch stream every single Tuesday and Thursday evening between 8 and 10 p.m. Irish time. And it is a really fun time. We just hang out, talk a lot of crap about current Warhammer events, and get a bunch of models that we keep each other accountable and make sure we keep painting. So if that's something that interests you, like I said, Twitch, Mediocre Hobbies, Tuesday and Thursday, 8 p.m. 10 p.m. Irish time. Check us out. So this is as far as I got on my first day. And not a lot of work got done on the landship itself. It got tidied up and some wheels got blocked in color. What actually did change my mindset for it quite a lot, and I'm really happy with how much progress is done. I've looked up a bunch of pictures of finished ones, and I have also figured out a bunch of other things I didn't know what to do before. And then all the rest of the pieces are obviously either sprayed or painted. Okay guys, and there we have it. Day 1 of trying to get the Marienburg landship finished and ready for the tabletop is now complete. I didn't finish nearly as much of it as I would have liked, and if I'm being brutally honest with you, today, the first day, I only really had a half day to work on it. The next 2 days of the videos each one is a complete full day. So there should be a lot more progress between now and the end of the next video. At least I'm praying to God there is, because There's a lot of models to paint. Now, obviously I've decided to go with Sterling for this, so it's not actually going to be part of Marienburg. Perhaps Sterling stole it from Marienburg and decided to add to the force, but because I have quite a large Sterling army and I want to continue on with that force, I decided to paint it up to match them, and that is my final say on the matter. Hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video. I hope you are excited to follow along on the short journey getting this piece finished, and are as excited as I am to see one completed and on the tabletop. Thanks so much for sticking around and enjoying the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it anyway. If you did, make sure you give the video a like. Ask me any questions you want in the comments below. I will get back to each and every one of you guys. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please take 2 seconds out of the day, subscribe to the channel, and perhaps you'll win a Titan. Alright guys, I will see you guys in tomorrow's video with hopefully much more progress.